We're going to do, just as a quick agenda, we're going to do a quick overview of Everfi for those of you who aren't familiar with us. We're going to talk a little bit about SOPA compliance and privacy, one of the really exciting education privacy laws I know you now have to keep track of. And we're going to hear from an Illinois administrator who's on the call. We're going to jump into breakout rooms. So you'll be able to choose breakout rooms based off of the grade level that you're in. We'll talk a little bit about the impact that Everfi has and answer any questions and talk about next steps. Really briefly, some background on Everfi and something that I want to really state really clearly up front. All the resources and support and opportunities we're going to talk to you about today are completely free. It is truthfully the hardest part about my job and my coworker Diana and Noah, who are also on here, is to convince people that they don't have to pay for anything. And it's just because of a really unique business model we have. Today, we're going to be talking about really engaging digital lessons that your teachers will get access to. We're going to be talking about assessments and reporting that's built into our platform so that you can see the measurable outcomes for our programs. And then I think the best thing, along with it being free, is just the local support. You will have access to my number or Diana's or Noah's or any of our team members in Illinois. And you can call, text, email us. Our job is to provide support for you and for your schools and for teachers to do whatever we can to help them and implement these programs in the best way possible. Really quickly, just impact in Illinois so far this school year. As of April 1st, there's 836 schools using our programs, over 120,000 students, and over 1,500 teachers using our programs. Everfi, we're not that old of a company, so we're seeing these numbers grow each year and have a really strong presence in Illinois. I mentioned everything is free, and it's something that I always have to reiterate, because when I was a teacher, everything was free for 30 days or for 30 kids, and where you get the basic version, but there is no cost for anything that we're going to talk about today. And it's really due to the partners we have. So we have a sponsorship with the United Way and the National Football League that sponsor character education programs we have. Financial institutions support our financial literacy programs. The NHL and Blackhawks sponsor a really cool STEM program that teaches students about math and science through the game of hockey. So we're going to go over all these different programs, but especially with you all being administrators, we want to be clear that there is no cost for these, whether you use one of them or all of them, or you use it, only a certain amount, or you sign up and then decide to use next year. That's completely fine as well. There's no limit on licenses, the professional development, training, and ongoing support. And then we also have a lot of special events and scholarship opportunities as well. We're going to be talking about that later, coming up with the Blackhawks. We just did something with the Blackhawks 2 weeks ago. It was women in STEM, panel on women in sports who focus on STEM careers, and we invited a bunch of schools to that. So we're always doing events with our partners as well. So about Everfi, and this is a very text-heavy slide, so just bear with me. But who we are as a company, we've defined a specific problem set that students are facing today in the world. If you look here, as you all know, there's $1.5 trillion of student loan debt. There's the stat about students that experience mental health issue in any given year. That number actually is increased under COVID. We have statistics and information about the fact that there's a really strong prevalence of cyberbullying and students using technology not in the incorrect way. And then the stat on challenges that students are facing with prevention education and misusing substances, whether it's alcohol or opioids or vaping. So these are all different problems that we've identified that are really impacting students' learning and just their overall well-being in the classroom and in life. And we've created resources to help tackle all of these problems. Who we are and how we started is by creating a course that focuses on financial education. So in Illinois, this is a required content area that students in high school level need to teach. We created a program that consists of 7 lessons. They're about 30 minutes long each. They cover banking, income and employment, budgeting, consumer skills, managing credit and debt, financing higher education, and insurance. The resources are student-driven, standards aligned, Students are getting pre and post assessments when they go through this course, so the teachers can get data and feedback based off of what what they're learning and what they've gained, knowledge they've gained from start to finish. So this was our founding course, a high school financial literacy program. And this connects to the problem set slide that you saw earlier, because students are leaving high school and going into college and getting into massive amounts of debt that's very difficult to pay off. So we created this program for high school students, and people said, well, what about middle school financial education? Students need to start earlier. Or what about educating students on entrepreneurship or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or STEM education? So we started with this one course, and we've now moved into this. This is now very overwhelming, but we have resources now that cover financial education for K through 12, STEM and career exploration, social emotional learning, health and wellness, elementary academic readiness, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So these are all similar structure with the other course. So they're student driven. They're meant to be a supplemental program, so a couple hours long, really meant to be something that a teacher can use in their tool belt to introduce content in a unique way. Every year we are adding programs. Right now we're at 29. In the fall, we have at least 3 on our radar that we will be adding. And we're always continuing to add and expand based off of feedback we get from teachers and just overall educators, I should say. And then what we're seeing take place in society and areas that we want to tackle that connect to that problem set. So this is a lot of information, and we're going to go into breakout rooms in a little bit. And you'll be able to go into a breakout room where you can learn more about the content you're most interested in based off of the grade level that you work with. But this is a very wide spectrum of problems that we're hoping to address through these digital resources we offer, and also supplemental offline programs we offer as well. We're developing these courses with subject matter experts. So Dr. Claiborne Carson, he's the holder of Martin Luther King Jr.'s papers. He helped us develop 2 programs we have that focus on African-American history. We worked with the Truth Initiative to create a vaping prevention program, with the Anti-Defamation League to create a resource that focuses on tackling anti-Semitism. So we're working with subject matter experts in all these areas that we're focusing on to make sure that our content is vetted, relevant, and something that would be is very applicable for students, and something that would be appealing to you all. I'm going to pass it over to my coworker Diana, who's going to talk a little bit about how our courses connect to standards, specifically in Illinois.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Bravo. I am the district director for Everfi for the Midwest. So my role is I work with the largest districts as well as the state departments of education across the region to support them in implementing our programs. And I wanted to focus a little bit on standards alignment within Illinois. All of our resources are standards aligned, and we have national standards alignments available through the teacher dashboard for every resource, but wanted to also mention that all of our resources are aligned to Illinois state standards. And I pulled out just a few examples here from the 29 resources of the standards alignments that we have for the Illinois learning standards for social science, for math, ELA, science, as well as wanted to mention some of the state mandates. So our Pathways Financing Higher Education resource is one very commonly used across the state to support students in being able to meet that state FAFSA mandate for graduation. So we would love to continue the conversation around that, and just know that we're able to provide these standards alignment resources as we're working with you or with your district to help kind of figure out where things best fit and share what standards these resources are hitting for you. So then on the next slide, we also wanted to talk about SOPA, because we know that this obviously is a big focus right now for districts across the state of Illinois. And is something that we are looking forward to working with our districts on. We know that effective July 1st, school districts across the state are going to be required to provide guarantees that their student data is protected when collected by education technology companies. and that data is used for beneficial purposes only. So just know that we are happy to partner with you on that. We comply with all the state and federal legislation, including COPA, FERPA, and SOPA, and we take student privacy very seriously. So where we're at with that right now is we're working with our districts to get those signed agreements on file. We're happy to either sign the state agreement if your district has an agreement, or we also have an agreement that we can provide, especially if you're wanting to do like a single sign-on integration with us, which we can talk about. We're going to talk about a little bit more later. But I would be the main contact for that. And my email is up here. So if you're interested in starting that process with us, please feel free to shoot me an email and we can get an agreement signed with you. And next slide, I am really excited to introduce Illinois Administrator Lindsay Sharp from District 300. She's the coordinator of college and career readiness, and we're really happy to have her here with us. She's going to speak a little bit about how she's been using Everfi resources within her district curriculum this year, and share a little bit about the plan moving forward as well.
Well, happy Wednesday afternoon. Kudos to all of our teachers out there and our administrators. This is my 21st year, and I can tell you it's been the most bizarre one yet, but I will say I learned a lot through this process. So District 300 is the 6th or 7th largest district in the state, depending on which year we look at. We serve over 21,000 students, and we are unique in our district because we have 3 high schools with 3 very unique feeder patterns. We have one feeder pattern that's very rural. We have one feeder pattern that's more of a suburban feeder pattern, and one that's more of a traditional urban feeder pattern. And where we started our Everfi journey was actually due to the pandemic. We knew going remote that we needed to have activities and resources that teachers could use. And we had a business teacher who used this, and she shared it with me. And so that's how we became a district that uses Everfi instead of a class or a course that uses Everfi. While we are moving to the next slide, which we'll talk a little bit more about our 3-year plan, I wanted to share that with our usage this year, we have EL learners that we are supporting, as well as SPED students that are using this resource. Everfi does have lessons that are in Spanish. So for our Hispanic students, they did provide that, which was welcomed. Our families were able to use it as well to support their students. So when we looked at our implementation this year, we embedded it into our middle school exploratory classes and our high school CTE business classes. In middle school, we offer a project-based learning and innovative tech and a college and career readiness exploratory class. And we embedded these as long as with our business classes, and we used some of the financial literacy lessons. We used an SEL lesson, and we also used the STEM exploration lesson because it had a link to careers in and just exploration in those careers. We have found that our students are growing with financial literacy. I'm getting feedback from teachers that students are engaged, that the platform is easy to use, and that the lessons are timed where it's not taking up the whole time, but just an enhancement to what they would normally do in the classroom. For year 2, we do hope to expand Everfi usage in our high school business courses, as well as update our curriculum documents to reflect the implementation. What we realized this year is that as we started to use it, teachers were more excited about it, and we needed to make sure that there wasn't going to be overlap. So, hey, if I'm in marketing and sales and I use it, I don't want to walk into personal finance and do the same activity again or have already completed the activity. So we're working with teachers to map out where that curriculum will best align. Everfi has been great to say they will help us with that as well. Should we want their support, they will help us with that alignment. Year 3, we hope to continue that Everfi implementation, but instead of just using it in middle school and in our high school exploratory classes, we want to venture out and look at adding it into our core content areas and really expanding into 3rd grade. For example, I've already shared the resource with our director of equity and inclusion to figure out where we can best make some of those adjustments. But the last piece that I think I want to share, which has been tremendous for us, has been the data that Everfi shares. So I just reach out to Diana, or Diana's really good about helping us schedule times where she'll say, Lindsay, let's sit down and talk about the data. Noah's usually joins us on the call, and we even talk about how he can help teachers. And so he has met one-on-one with teachers and students to help them do things. So I think that that's a great example of support at the teacher level and at the administrator level on how we use this. And that data was able to, showed us that our students were growing with financial literacy, and that they came in at one point, but they are all moving forward with what they are learning. And I think that that is critical, especially during this pandemic.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Really helpful to kind of see how your district is strategizing for the future. And, that's definitely how Everfi partners with districts, is just like Lindsay was saying, we want to make sure that we're providing the information and the data so that you all can see where these programs are moving the needle, where are areas where, you might want to put a little bit of additional focus. So as you can see on this slide, and as Lindsay was sharing, we do provide regular data updates to our districts. So twice a year, we deliver an impact report, which you can see a page from the Future Smart Impact Report for the state of Illinois for this past school year. And so what this is basically a summary of the usage of the programs across the district, highlights from the knowledge gains, as well as survey data. So we also have attitudinal behavioral surveys within the courses so that we can really see, where it's moving the needle, like I said, in terms of growth for students. So as you can see from this slide, which is from our Future Smart course, we can see the average knowledge gains from the pre and post assessment. So as you can see on your financial future module, we can see that students increase their scores by 39%. So this is the kind of data that we provide twice a year, and then we can also provide it on demand, as Lindsay was saying, as we do our check-ins with our districts that we work with.
Thanks, Diana. The next section, what we want to do is go into breakout rooms. So we know that there's a very wide range of people joining here. In a second, you're going to see something that is on your screen, and it's going to ask you to choose a breakout room for elementary, middle, or high school. There's like a number button you will click on to choose the specific room you want to be in. Just giving an example, I know Chicago Public Schools, your elementary schools are K through 8. You don't really have, I think there's like a few random middle schools, but mostly your elementaries are K through 8. We're recording this, and we're going to do a quick recap afterwards. So if you feel like you're not sure which one you want to join, choose one, and we'll do like a very quick summary at the end, so you won't feel like you missed anything. So Amber, I think we're ready. If you want to make that appear, there's going to be like on the bottom right of your Zoom screen, like a little breakout room button, but this should just appear on everybody's page, and you will just choose if you want to join elementary, middle, or high school based off of who you work with. And then Diana, Noah, and myself will be going over specific content in those, covering those grade areas. And Amber is going to stick around if anybody's having any technical difficulties with setting this up and picking a room. So Amber will stick around to assist there as well. All right, so we'll just give people a minute to jump back in. I think everybody's about back in, okay. So I know that not everybody was able to join maybe the necessary session if you're at like a K through 8 or a 7 through 12 school. So we just really going to go through in about a minute takeaways from each session. These could be relevant for you, or they could be relevant for another administrator that you know. So just a really quick recap. In the elementary session, I talked about a course that we have that's geared towards summer learning, to try to mitigate summer learning loss. It's an enrichment activity as well. And it's due to really like the fact that people are falling behind, not just because of the summer slide, but now it's the COVID slide. I went over a elementary K through 2 reading course. I was reading an article recently, and I found that 37% of this year's kindergartners are on track in early reading skills compared to 55% during the 1920 school year. So an 18% reduction from this year to last year. And I can say that it's likely due to COVID. So we talked about an elementary course that focuses on early literacy. And then we talked about a course that focuses on improving social emotional learning skills for grades 2 through 4. Two administrators in the breakout room talked about the fact that they're hoping that their students, something that students struggle with is communication skills and regulating emotions. And those are topics covered in the Compassion Project.
And in the middle school session, we talked about challenges around learning loss within math and science, but also just students missing out on lots of hands-on opportunities they would have had over the past year to engage with things like environmental science, since a lot of those programs were on hold during COVID. So we shared two resources that are really great, engaging, interactive for students to learn about environmental science, as well as STEM, Sustainability Foundations, which is sponsored by Beyond Meat, and also Future Goals Hockey Scholar, sponsored by the Blackhawks. We also talked about the challenges around financial literacy with the pandemic, and that 70% of Generation Z respondents said that they wish, they think that having greater financial literacy would have helped them manage their finances better amid the pandemic. So how can we start giving skills and knowledge to students at an earlier age around financial literacy to prepare them for those challenges in the future? And then finally, just like Ben was saying, social emotional learning, mental wellness being something top of mind for students across the board. And I shared Character Playbook, our Healthy Relationships SEL course, which is sponsored by the Bears United Way.
I don't know why, I added some animations there or something. In the high school breakout room, we had a good discussion. I actually want to chat in for you all. Lindsay shared that YouTube video about the difference between soft skills and human skills. It's like a 5-minute video I plan on watching, but it's kind of a perfect segue into what we talked about. Everfi has kind of the majority of our resources are geared towards high school, honestly. And mental wellness basics really was one of those human skills, that regardless of college, career, whatever pathway students are planning to take after high school, they need these sort of mental health and mental wellness skills and coping skills that they can graduate with. I also talked about a marketplaces course that I personally have been visiting a lot of virtual classrooms to introduce recently, and it's really around destigmatizing the stock market and getting students in Gen Z who are kind of risk averse, I think, and more inclined to save than to invest. Just getting them to realize that the stock market is not just for rich people, it's also for, the general public. And, in light of what happened with GameStop in January, I think kids are more excited to start investing, knowing that, everyday people can really have an effect on the stock market. So, we talked about our financial literacy courses, as well as some of our human and soft skills resources to help high school students, graduate with these really important life skills. So on that note, another thing we want to give kids an opportunity for is to get free money for college. So we actually at Everfi offer a number of scholarship opportunities. One of them is specific to Future Smart, which is our 6th to 8th grade financial lit course. Kids have to finish 3+ modules of that course and write a 2-paragraph essay kind of explaining what they learned. And they've applied for $1,000 scholarship for higher education. The second one is a kind of generic any Everfi course, whether it's WordForce, in kindergarten, or Pathways in senior year of high school. Complete any 3 modules of any Everfi course and write a little bit about what you learned, and you're eligible for another $1,000. And then finally, Fifth Third Bank, which sponsors some of our high school financial literacy programming. They offer a total of $70,000, but 28 separate $2,500 scholarships to high school students. Same idea, go through at least one module of their program, the Finance Academy program, and then type up a short entry about what you learned and how it can affect your life, you've applied for a $2,500 scholarship. So, these are very easy opportunities for students to apply for. I always say, put your, apply to as many scholarships as you possibly can as a high school student, or even as a, middle or elementary school student. And, we just have quite a few opportunities for kids of all grade levels and all GPAs too. I find that a lot of scholarships are pretty restrictive on GPA or SAT score. Our scholarships scores don't matter, so you can have a 0.5 GPA and win the scholarship.
Sorry about that.
So this has been mentioned, this event before, but I want to reiterate that we do very cool kind of engagement events. I know something I've heard from around all districts is that student engagement and excitement is pretty low right now, especially in remote learning. So, through our partners, Blackhawks, Bears, White Sox, a lot of our banks, we offer these engagement opportunities, and this one was just too cool, and I wanted to share with you all. You can watch the recording. It's really around our Future Goals Hockey Scholar program, but these 5 women, including one teacher, were former U.S. Olympian hockey players. One of them is actually from a suburb of Chicago, Kendall Coyne there, in the top middle. And they were just talking about STEM in sports, their careers, and how they became Olympian hockey players. And really, I thought just an inspirational kind of panel talk for girls, but also just for folks interested in working in sports. So there's a link to the recording in the deck that we'll share out, but that's just one of many opportunities that we can offer through our programming as well.
When COVID's not taking place, we do so many more as well. Last year, for the past few years, we've invited 10,000 students to the United Center. I know if you're in Southern Illinois, it's a little bit far, but 10,000 students went to the United Center, and the players for the Blackhawks were doing STEM activities from the course that they sponsor on the ice. And there were teams, and the students were, they were participating on their own. We've taken students to Soldier Field and on tours of the stadium and spoken to ex-NFL players about areas related to character education. So we're doing a lot virtually, but it's really cool when we're in person, and hopefully we are next year, and we'll be able to do a lot more. Before I know one thing that is really important, obviously, is how do you gain access to this? I'm on this slide, there's instructions for teachers and for administrators, and I want to be very specific here for a reason. If you're a teacher, follow these steps on the left. If you're an administrator or coach who doesn't plan to be an implementer, but maybe you just want to sign up and poke around and check things out, follow this on the right. And the reason why I say that is because for those of you who are going to be implementers, we'll reach out to you. We'll want to provide you with guidance on that. If you're an administrator and you want you don't want any other emails in your inbox, which I'm sure is already cluttered, sign up this way. So I made an Illinois administrator account, which will identify you as an administrator, and I'll leave you alone. And it'll help us know who's actually going to be implementing our programs. So I'm going to leave this slide up for a few minutes and talk about a couple random things related to implementation. We talked about data privacy policy. That's going to come up as well. Our courses are available or can be used on laptops, Chromebooks, desktops. So they're some of them are mobile friendly, some aren't, but some of them are. Some of our courses are available in Spanish, not all of them. We are working on making any new course we have is going to be available in Spanish. So just want to bring that up. The courses save progress. So if students don't finish a lesson, it'll bring them back to where they were when they left off. Teachers also have the ability to pick and choose which order of lesson they want to go through. And there's a curriculum guide they're provided with. So it'll tell them what's covered in all the content areas. So just like a couple random things I wanted to bring up as you're, looking at the registration instructions for your staff or for yourself if needed. I don't know if anything else needs to get added there, or Diana or Noah, if you have anything else to chime in on for that part. Okay. We are going to link in the copy of the presentation as well, just a couple more slides, then we're done. For student registration, there's a couple options. We do integrate with Clever, and we're hoping to integrate with ClassLink over the summer. So single sign-on is something that I know a lot of districts are moving towards. So that is an option. Teachers also have the ability to upload their rosters or create a class code, a pretty common method that people use, like from other programs like Schoology or Google Classrooms or Prodigy Math. I know we'll use that type of setup. Diana, I'm going to let Diana talk about professional development offerings for Everfi as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the important thing to know is that all of the training and support is also free. It's included in the sponsorship. So that includes things like individual and group trainings at the school level, and also district-wide professional development, which Everfi can lead at no cost. So that could be something like an Everfi 101 session where we share all of the resources available to your teachers, or you might choose to focus in on a particular topic like SEL or prevention or career readiness or financial literacy. Or you might decide you want to do a series of PDs based on grade level. Know that we are happy to work with you to come up with a plan that makes sense, and we can walk your teachers through how to register and get started, and then provide that ongoing support. Even if that means meeting with folks individually or jumping into their classroom to help their students get started. So below are a few PD sessions that we have available, but looking forward to continuing the conversation and working with you all to learn what would be most helpful for you all in terms of getting PD and training scheduled for your teachers.
Thanks, Diana. I missed the question. I apologize. Jay McNair asked a question. With parents playing a greater role in their child's education because so many students were learning remotely as a result of COVID, are there any avenues in Everfi that can help parents? The answer is yes. So for some of our programs, not all of them, we might have like parent discussion guides. Give me 1 second. Let me find it and put it on my dashboard. I don't have it up right now. But for some of our resources, we'll include a parent discussion guide. So it's like a way for students and parents to have a conversation about a specific topic. I know that in Illinois, obviously, FAFSA is required. Filling out FAFSA is a requirement for seniors to graduate. So I'm going to give you an example of something we have for this course called Pathways. So there's a parent-student discussion guide where it will be something a teacher can give to a student and have a conversation with their parents about topics related to financial aid or student loans. So it's basically like questions they can bring home. I know our character playbook program also has some discussion guides for parents. So this course specifically talks about character education related issues or obstacles or challenges at the middle school level. So a lot of our courses do have like a parent component to it as well. Hopefully that answered your question. Sorry, Jay McNair, I just saw that now. Jay McNair, sorry. So yeah, a lot of different professional development opportunities. We also do a lot of workshops. I don't think we have a slide for it, but we've been doing a lot of workshops specifically in April. We've been doing like workshops around FAFSA. So it's basically like we are going to do like a deep dive into one of our lessons on financial education. We'll help students get started with the FAFSA lesson. We'll talk to them about websites they can go to research scholarship opportunities, learn more about loans, how to have conversations with adults about that. So we do like workshops as well to help teachers get started with our programs. I see a question to add this professional development in ISB for CPUs. What should I enter for the provider name? I think Amber is going to touch on that in a second. We're almost there. The last thing that I'll reiterate, more than like, again, we talk about everything being free, but this is your team in Illinois. Our job is to provide you with support, to host trainings for your schools and districts, to talk to you about the impact reports. Again, we do those biannually, so around January, mid-year, and then over the summer, we'll do the full year data analysis of your school or your district, so we can show the impact that the course had. We're here to Team Noah, Ty, big fan. I've seen you on some other PDs, I think, Ty. So provide guidance on remote learning strategies, visit your class virtually to help them get started. Again, if this is something you're interested in, but not sure how it would work, or if your teachers are very, struggle with technology still, we are happy to come to their classroom and say, let's do like a little mini lesson on this topic, get the students started so they can feel really comfortable taking that next step and, use the other programs or lessons on their own. So I'm going to chat in a copy of the presentation, and I'm also going to chat in a form that will, provide you with guidance on next steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is chat in the form, and this is going to have, if you're interested in professional development, more information, etc. Anything you're interested in learning more about with Everfi, you can fill that information out, and we'll be in touch. We have a lot of availability. If you're looking to do a PD as soon as Friday, we could schedule something. And then the second thing I just chatted in is a copy of the presentation. That is something that you can take a look at if you need it. If you're curious about any of the resources we have, you'll be able to jump down and see all of our contact information. So there you have access to the presentation. And then for next steps, if you need additional support as well. We're also going to link at the top of the presentation. There's going to be the Google form that we just shared, the registration instructions for teachers and students, an overview of all of like the resources for teachers if they need it. And then we're going to put in a link to the recording for good measure. But if you want to do something more personal, again, please do not hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to schedule something with your school or district. All right, that was a lot of information. We covered a ton of different topic areas, data and privacy. We talked to an administrator, events, scholarships, lots of information that we covered. Are there any questions that people have for us? Questions or thoughts, I should say. Okay, let's think. Trying to think of questions I normally get from administrators. We don't share, obviously we mentioned FERPA compliance, students aren't, there's no information shared with our partners. Students aren't going to get a pop-up to buy tickets for the Blackhawks or something like that. We're really just helping drive these organizations' corporate social responsibility and community outreach initiatives. That's our goal, and that's how everything is free from their sponsorships. So, okay. No questions. You have our contact information. You can fill out that form if you want us. If you do have a question, we can help. I'm going to pass it over to Amber, who I thank again for letting us host this, and also thank you so much for you all joining, and Lindsay as well for sharing as well. Oh, just got a question. Do you still have the science, math, hockey program? Yes, Bob. That's called Future. It's called Future Goals Hockey Scholar. Bob, you're Waterloo, so you're like in the Blues territory. We're doing an event with the Blues on April 16th. It's going to include some of their marketing and community engagement people. So talking to students about like careers in STEM. So Bob, if you're interested in that, definitely let me know. I think you're at the elementary school level, so that works perfect. Any other questions, feel free to chat in, but I'm going to pass it over to Amber. Thank you all for joining. Before you go, make sure you stick around so she can tell you how to get the PDHs. And again, thanks to Lindsay as well.
And thank you so much. And Noah and Diana and Lindsay, we really appreciate you joining us and sharing all the fantastic information. I still will never forget the first time I spoke with Ben and he kept telling me about Everfi and I'm like, this doesn't even seem real. Like, what's the catch? So it's been an incredible few years getting to learn about Everfi and all of the resources that you offer. So keep up the great work.
Thank you, Amber.
So Illinois Digital Educators, we are free to join. We highly encourage all of you that are on today to please consider joining us. We actually just opened up scholarships. We'll be sending an email. You will get our email if you are a member. So that is why we do ask that you sign up for that. But scholarships are open currently. You can apply for scholarships to go towards more professional development. If you want to go ahead to the next slide, Ben. Also, just want to put a quick plug in for Amplify Innovation. Amplify Innovation is formerly known as Tech 20XX. We changed the name recently just with some changes that were going on with the state of Illinois. This April is actually Innovation Month for the state of Illinois, signed by the governor. And essentially what Amplify Innovation is an opportunity for students to showcase what they're doing in schools with technology. So you can see the picture here. In the past, we've had the opportunity to be at the Capitol. We're hoping that this will be the last year we can't be at the Capitol. So it will be fully virtual, but if you go to ideaillinois.org/amplify, you can find out more information and the way to submit your video. So our goal this year is to have a school district in every legislative district be able to participate and showcase so that their legislators can see the amazing things happening in schools today. Next slide. These are just some of our upcoming events. Again, you can go to ideaillinois.org, find out about all of these events. Majority of our events we try to have as a low cost or free, like the Wednesday webinars. I know there's a little bit of conversation today about SOPA, but we're going to dive deeper into that at the end of the month and have some very targeted conversations about what classroom teachers in particular need to know about SOPA.